So let's start, of course, with the performance on Sunday. Perry, we'll come to you. A moment of magic was the difference. It came from a set piece, but the finish from Gyökeres against his former club, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's exactly what he was bought for. Exactly that, because last season, sometimes we struggled for a little bit of creativity, a bit of imagination. And the thing that I love about Eze, we've said before, is he's a street footballer. He learnt in South London in the cages where he was like 11 playing against 15, 16-year-olds. So you see that when he's on the ball, you see how technical he is and the way that he got it. But that technique, which was like the hitch kicks volley, he knew you have to read it as well, because obviously Wharton's marking him. So you have to read it. Gabriel obviously knocks it back into the danger area. But then because he's a bit close to it, that's why he has to bring that sort of athleticism to it. And if there was one player on the pitch you wanted to drop to, it'd have been him to execute that volley. And I thought Arteta was quite interesting after when he said he liked his celebration, because he still celebrated, but it was still respectful. I hate it when players don't celebrate at all. It does my head in. Don't care even if it's your club you're playing against. If they wanting you to go, you should be running around, flipping, throwing your shirt everywhere in the place.
But I mean, I guess the relationship that he had with Crystal Palace, that the fans didn't want him to leave. I think we chatted about this on the last one, didn't we? Declan Rice's relationship with the West Ham supporters is slightly different. Gyökeres, he's got that good relationship with the Crystal Palace fans and that respectful relationship. But it was nice to see him, even though it was muted, he still did the little cross thing. He still,
pointing to the
yeah,
sky.
exactly.
Yeah.
He still did his usual thing that he does when he scores, but it was a bit more muted.
I think it was quite classy for the Palace fans to give him a nice round of applause. Yeah. It was quite nice.
Yeah, and his first goal for Arsenal at the Emirates. You know, it's like, it must be difficult in that moment, because you're thinking of everything he's achieved with Palace, just won them the FA Cup, but he's also probably thinking, I've just scored for the club I've wanted to play for. In my first goal, ended up a winner. So it must be hard to sort of, keep it calm in that moment, but fair play to him.
Well, we also know that Eze is somebody who's very God-fearing. He believes in a higher power, and it's almost like he was meant to score against Crystal Palace, because I can't remember who it was against, but he missed a gilt-edged chance against someone earlier on in the season, which should have been his first goal.
Who was that? West Ham.
Over
the bar. Yeah. That was a big miss.
But his first goal for Arsenal in the Premier League comes against Crystal Palace. I mean, it was written, but the 1-0 win on Sunday, it means, James, that we didn't concede a single goal in October. That's just a phenomenal stat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal stat, and it feels like people don't want us to enjoy it, because they're talking about our style of football and things like that. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying because it's a bit sad. I kind of became an Arsenal fan around 2006. Champions League final was my first game. I'm so used to the soft underbelly talk about Arsenal, the weak mentality talk about Arsenal, the lack of physicality to deal with the Premier League, the boys against men, all these narratives that came through. So I, probably more than most, am really enjoying that this is the way Arsenal are finding a way. And I still think, we'll obviously talk about that. I think there's great football being played throughout the season. But I'm enjoying that there's a way we're doing it that's kind of going against, well, you all said we were this, and we're going to show you we're not. Coming from a manager in Mikel Arteta, who was a part of those teams, playing with more lightweight players, who, by the way, I loved, technical brilliance, and I loved watching them. But him kind of driving and instilling this style in Arsenal, getting clean sheets, showing fight, and finding a way when we're not playing well, I'm enjoying it, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make, Perry, of the performance? Because I have to say, I was watching it on telly. I wasn't lucky enough to be at the game, but I was getting quite frustrated because, honestly, I don't think we played that well, but we still got the win.
Yeah, but we're just like a very efficient dry cleaners, because we always do clean sheets. That's it. But the thing is, I knew when, against Palace, we spoke to it before, you play like Fulham away, Atletico Madrid at home, Palace at home, right? They're 3 difficult games, right? And you said, right, you keep 3 clean sheets and you'll win all 3. You just snatch your hands off beforehand. I'm not really bothered by the way we play, honestly, because it's so early on in the season. We know there's different levels that we can get to, because Palace are difficult. I know it's the 3-4-2-1, but it's not. Out of possession, they're 5-4-1.
Yeah.
And they're very well disciplined, and they all work. So I thought maybe in the first 15, 20 minutes, we probably didn't move the ball as quickly as what I would like us to. There was a couple of mistakes where we gave it away, which then enticed them onto us.
Yeah.
Like Zubimendi was caught in possession a couple of times. But what happens is, and I was lucky enough to play in a team in 1991 where we were the nearly invincibles, because Tony Allen was in prison, so it was his fault, so I blamed him. But we only conceded 18 goals that season. And they know when they're playing, when we scored, you know that the opposition have a dip, like their body language goes, and you can see it in their eyes where they think, we ain't scoring two. And it's such a psychological advantage to have when you go 1-0 up, because teams put so much into stopping you from scoring, which they did. Then it's like, right, have you got that energy then to break out and score against us? And when they do, then we're going to have the players with the like flair, with like Saka and Eze and Odegaard, do you know what I mean, with the imagination that you're going to take advantage. So it's a weird thing. When you're 1-0 up, you always expect the opposition to come at you, and the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you'll sit back. Didn't happen against Fulham, and didn't happen against Crystal Palace. And we were probably a bit lucky that they played on the Thursday, so their energy levels and emotional investment they had on the Thursday just dropped a little bit. But it's the 1-0. I love the 1-0 to the Arsenal. It's got a very good ring about it.
Yeah. It's got a decent song as well, I guess, you know what I mean? It is very interesting, though, just looking at this starting 11, James, because there's a lot of focus, as always, on Viktor Gyökeres. And I know he's not necessarily getting on the score sheet, but he's doing a job. A lot of people are talking about the fact that because he's this powerful number 9, that means we're getting more space out wide because, you know, central defenders aren't being dragged out wide because they're worried about Viktor Gyökeres.
Yeah. The summer was that big debate, wasn't it? Sesko, Gyökeres, and other strikers made moves like Ekitike, Voltemade, who weren't really linked with Arsenal. And a lot of them very technical, very good footballers. And I think there's a little bit of a sense of, whether other avenues we could have gone down. I really like Gyökeres, and I wasn't completely sold when the links were there. But I see a player who, don't get me wrong, of course there's moments where the move slightly breaks down with him, but there's this kind of relentless tenacity about him. He's constantly running the channels, and late in that game, so I was very lucky to be at the game, and I don't know if sometimes you get a slightly different perspective, certainly on things like work rate and how much players are running. But I was watching it thinking, oh my word, we are just booting that ball in the channel and hoping he gives us an out ball or buys us a couple minutes. And yeah, it didn't always stick, it didn't always work, but largely I quite liked what he did. In that first 20-30 minutes, we were not getting through Palace. So Saliba lumps one over the top, Gyökeres beats the defender physically, gets the ball, makes his way around before rolling it, I think, to Zubimendi, and Trossard gets a shot. But we couldn't make our way through. So you need someone who's a willing runner to give you just something else. And I know it sounds a bit basic, like just running the channels, but I actually think we've lacked that over the years. We've lacked different ideas to get through a team. I like what he's doing. He's working incredibly hard. He's a part of a team that are showing the most consistency in the league. So as far as I'm aware, I'm happy with what he's giving. I want to see more, but I'm happy.
He's our top scorer.
Yeah, well, that's true.
He's got 5 goals, right? Yeah. But if you think when Henry first came over, he struggled for the first 9-10 games. Perez struggled the first 9-10 games. So what he does as well is, even in the first half when he's engaging centre halves and he's giving space to work, but by keep running in the channels, the centre halves, honestly, when you're sitting, you think, oh God, he ain't going to run in the channel again. And what you do is, with the work that he puts in, you reap the rewards again in the last 20-25 minutes, because you keep going in the channels, then the game gets a bit more stretched, then people get spaces. So his work ethic is second to none.
Yeah.
He will gradually grow into it. And then there's Chelsea fans that I spoke to. When Didier Drogba went to Chelsea, I think he got 10 goals the first season, Premier League goals, 12 the second, when they won the title. No one says anything because you won the title. I don't care.
No one remembers. No one cares. It's interesting about Gyökeres, actually, because I'm intrigued to see what will happen when Kai Havertz is fit again, because you mentioned just there about the game getting stretched and Gyökeres continuing to run into the channels. Defenders don't like it. I like to see what happens when Kai Havertz is fit. If Kai Havertz starts a game and then we give Gyökeres half an hour at the end against a tired defence, how different that may look and feel.
Yeah, but also what happens is, it looks like Kai Havertz is going to be fit after the international break. He gives you something different. So what'll happen is, Arteta, which I like at the minute because he's rotating more and he's resting players, there'll be games where he says to Gyökeres, all right, you've played 3 or 4 on the trot, you can have a little rest. We'll put Kai Havertz in. Kai Havertz gives you something different because he still engages centre halves, but he's brilliant at actually holding it up. And as how many times you see it sort of roll down his body, or he flicks it on, or he goes out in the wide areas and creates like 2v1s. Yeah. So you've got all these different options. And there'll be a time as well, by the way, it's going all right for us a minute, where we're going to have to force a goal, right? And they'll both play. I guarantee you that Arteta will put both of them through the middle for a period of time. You know what I mean? Last 20-25 minutes.
Prime Arsene Wenger style, bringing on all the attackers.
Exactly. Just go, right, we're going to go all in, but it will be crosses creating mayhem. So we're finding ways to win games in a minute, but there'll be other times where we are going to have to press and we're going to have to try and force something. So you've got both them options.
It's a good thing for Gyökeres to have Havertz back because I know we're going to look ahead to Brighton, but off the top of my head, he's probably have to start that game. If he doesn't, it's Marino up front. But he had to finish the game against Palace after all the running he did for the first hour. It's like, okay, right, now we've got something to protect. We're going to need a slightly different job from you. And it must just be exhausting. The guy barely had a pre-season. Obviously started at Old Trafford because he looked quite good in those Emirates friendlies. Havertz gets injured. I thought he looked quite good when he came on at Old Trafford. And actually, they should be complementing one another. There's so many games to play. We're looking competitive on all fronts. There's more games in the Champions League than ever before. But Gyökeres is having to front it all up. And don't get me wrong, he looks like he's got the mentality to say, get me on the pitch every time, but that's not always what the player needs. So I think he'll benefit from Havertz returning, even if he is rotated, not dropped, but rotated for some.
Perry, you mentioned kind of, things are going well for us at the moment, but, there may be a blip round the corner. You just don't know. Liverpool obviously having their blip now. We probably will have one at some point in the season. Definitely. But if Kai Havertz does come back, will that just give us something different? Will we find another gear, I guess, that we can stick the gear stick into? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better analogy, but you know what I mean. Stick us into sixth gear on the motorway and just go.